So I've been going through a really extreme depressive episode, which is from withdrawing from an antidepressant. Growing up, I never had depression, but I had issues with anxiety, specifically OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. So I started seeing a nurse practitioner at the College Health Center who pretty much off the bat suggested an antidepressant.
We are told a story, and that story is that you're probably born with a genetic chemical imbalance that will manifest either randomly or under stress, and that it's going to require pharmaceutical intervention for the rest of your life. It's kind of like if you need eyeglasses, you just need to wear them, and if you don't wear them, you're not going to be able to navigate the world.
So I went on Lexapro, which is an SSRI, so selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. I had night sweats, definitely sexual side effects, you know, making you disinterested, things like that, just kind of dulling everything. It made me indifferent. And then fatigue, which became a big interruption in my life. Really hard to not go to bed at 7 p.m. because if you can get to sleep, that's the only time that there's sort of relief.
Psychiatric medication, it may be an alluring notion of a safe and effective fix, but in fact, it's actually generating the very problems it's purporting to resolve. So this is pretty devastating, news, and it's all documented literature, long-term outcomes. For example, in the antidepressant literature, it's called tardive dysphoria. It's a documented phenomenon that actually suggests that patients become chronically depressed while and because of their treatment.
Everything about life that makes you want to get up in the morning, that makes you, able to get through your days, just kind of stripped away. And what's left is something that looks completely unrecognizable.
We are working with a diagnostic and statistical manual that changes over time. The inclusion of different pathologies in this manual is based on consensus by a board of men, and almost all of those individuals have declared and sometimes undeclared conflicts of interest, meaning that they take funds from the pharmaceutical industry directly. Even today, psychiatrists are taught that mental illnesses are about discrete, genetically driven chemical imbalances, and there is literally not a shred of valid science to support that notion. And in fact, researchers themselves have abandoned this possibility.
So then a year and a half later, I guess it was my senior year, and I wanted to get off the medication. So I tapered down, which at that time I knew nothing about tapering off of an antidepressant, and I started to feel feelings I had never felt before, like overwhelming, really sad, crying, just despair, I guess I would say. But what's interesting is that it wasn't like I had a spike in my OCD, anxiety, compulsions. It was a different kind of set of feelings.
This is not a relapse. This is a withdrawal phenomenon. So in the chemical withdrawal process, the symptoms can range from neurologic, what are called brain zaps, for example, which is a sense of an electrical rush up your spine, to psychiatric symptoms, tearfulness, hopelessness, intensely dark mood, suicidality, even homicidality. Patients struggle often in new and different ways clinically when they come off of a medication than they ever did before they went on medication.
The results of this withdrawal have been pretty huge on my life. Things just fall away. I mean, I quit a new job. I, broke up with someone I was living with. I moved home, basically have reverted back to sort of being a child.
I don't think that there are enough clinicians out there who have been in any way made aware of the gravity of this problem.
I did see a psychiatrist in December, who obviously, based on the extreme distress I was presenting, did recommend medication. And I thought about it for a little while, and then I decided to fill it, and I went back on, which is not where I wanted to end up. But I was getting to a dangerously low place.
We reflexively react out of fear whenever symptoms arise, right? As a psychiatrist, I was taught, is this patient a danger to themselves, a danger to others, or a danger to the community? My question was never, what does this struggle mean for this patient? And what would we be interfering with if our only goal is to suppress symptoms?
I wish we hadn't been so, well, I don't even want to say eager, but sort of accepting initially of, well, this will just take the edge off of it. Because it wasn't like she had any horrible problems. And it's not like we're a family that turns to medication a lot, so I almost felt like I was being enlightened. I wasn't being one of those people who says, oh, no medication.
This is something that is not treating an underlying condition of my own, but that is restoring a drug that I grew dependent on. You know, the depression I feel now, the feelings I feel now are far worse than the original condition I went on medication for. What I wish they would have said is that it might be really hard for you to get off these drugs, and you might never get off. That's what they should have said.